Okay, I'd like to call to order the March 13th, 2023 Board of Trustees meeting. First order of business being public participation. Let's see any public in the room?
I have one.
You have one.
Okay, so this is email that I received this afternoon from Robert Felipe. He was asking, in light of what's happening in the market the last few days with the failure of a handful of banks, would it be appropriate for the board to discuss the concentration of excess BPL money with TD Bank? Even though securitized by a standby letter of credit, maybe it's time to diversify BPL's excess cash and investments among several banks. It's worth a good discussion at a minimum. Best regards.
Okay, that's great. We can maybe bring it up, when we talk about finances. I'd like to review previous meeting minutes, pages 2 through 7. I think a few seconds to look at those. Any questions, concerns?
Motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, so that raising hand. Okay, seeing no opposition, passes. Go to the finance report, with 9 through 16.
You want to scroll on to the actual numbers because that might be more
Okay.
helpful to talk about. Actually, they don't. So the revenue and expense report, we're on track. We're very comparable to where we were last year at this time. We're about 6% under budget in expenses. On the revenue side, we have received 98% of the budgeted tax revenues and expect to get the remainder in April. Interest income is over 43,000, so that's giving us a little bit of a boost in revenue. And that's pretty much the report. People have any questions about specific items?
I have just a couple before we get into the comment by the member of the public, and then I had a couple of questions about the warrant. But when you said 6% of our budget, is that partly due to the staffing shifts? Because we budgeted for a certain number of positions and senior people may have left, or and then the interest income. So what feeds some of that?
The 6% under budget refers just to expenses.
Okay.
And it's largely due to salaries and benefits
That's a,
in some of the open positions that have been held open and
Okay.
movement among staff.
thank you.
That's the biggest piece of it.
Can I ask you a couple of questions about the warrant? I read that, by the way, just because school board training was like always read it and look for odd numbers and look for repetitive patterns. That's why I'm checking it. There was something for pronunciator else. I'm not sure what that was.
It's one of our databases. It's the database
Okay,
that we use.
that's what I thought. But
Yep, you got it.
And then there was and I had sent Sherry the check number so she would know. There's something to Romer Wallens and et al. I don't know who they were. But,
Legal fees.
okay, great. I assume that too, but I just wanted to make sure. That's it. Besides any comment about the public.
Yeah, we can talk about the public. Yeah, so kind of really, if I heard it correctly, he's talking about diversifying our accounts in different banks. Because it looks like we're concentrated, we can do with different products, but in the same bank.
That
most of the same bank.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to comment on that, or we should talk about that.
Is there a slide that tells us all the different accounts we have on the banks? I thought there
Yeah.
was one.
Page 9.
Scroll up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I thought there was a summary of all the accounts.
So actually, the treasury bill is through, KeyBank.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
That's a significant portion.
Right.
But the remainder of the cash is with TD Bank, as you can see. You know, we shouldn't have said TD Bank treasury bill. I'm just noticing that
Yeah.
because it's through KeyBank and not TD. So we'll fix that next month.
Okay.
We do have a standby letter of credit that collateralizes our deposits. We're required to do that. I feel that's very secure.
Right.
But who knows? I mean, if there was a bank collapse, we have a lot more problems than just, the library, right?
Well, also possibly could we consider the issue and maybe just,
The thing
about it.
Right, send it to finance committee, you know.
Yeah, the thing about this, the CDs, we got a really good rate from TD Bank. Possibly because we already do business with them.
Yeah,
We could have gone to other banks, but I don't think we would have done as well as we did with them.
yeah. I mean, I think maybe we should send the issue to the finance committee at the next meeting, we can talk about it, because I know we have more banks on, we authorize more banks.
Yes, we do.
So the question would be, it's a risk benefit determination.
How many people are actually on the finance? I know Michelle's on it. Is it, I was gonna,
Tonight,
Okay.
Tonight go.
yeah, I don't know if anyone has expertise or
And
anything.
if someone wants to join, please join us.
Yeah.
We can put that out to the people at the next meeting. So,
It'd be helpful to have the committee, maybe, I don't know if a month or 2 months makes sense, how long you might need to consider it, but just.
yeah. Okay, sounds good. I think that's a good idea. It's a good way to handle it.
but thanks to Robert for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
I would just say we're more diversified than we have ever been, specifically because of that treasury. Because that's such a big chunk, more than $1 million. That's not treasury, but it's secured by it. That goes.
If that's not secure, I
We
don't know
got,
what's.
we got a bigger problem. So in some ways, we've taken steps towards that. It's a good conversation.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other questions on the treasurer financial report? Okay, any motion?
Do you need to accept it?
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, seeing no opposition, that motion passes. Personnel report.
All righty, folks. Second. You're more sophisticated. I would have some sort of indexed. All right. So basically, we are near full staffing as we have been in 3 years. So we've filled many of our full-time positions that are open. The Charmaine's question about why we're underspent. You're not going to be seeing that going forward. We're going to be much closer to the budget because we've been able to fill the positions that were open. You can see this above the line. The number of positions that are unfilled are much fewer than there were, and they are all part-time positions. So towards that end, the one thing I'm asking is that we could reclass a library assistant full-time position to a library 1 full-time position, and then eliminate this part-time, the top part-time clerk, which is contracted at $14.45 an hour, and that is within $2,000 of being ongoingly budgeted. So if we eliminate that position, reclass the position to a full-time librarian, we have an opportunity to move on a children's librarian, which I'd like to do. So.
And Jeff had discussed it with the personnel committee and everyone on the committee support.
That's really the only action. We have nothing, we have no one's left. We have no other positions to fill this class.
I make a motion to accept the personnel report, including allowing Jeff to reclass
library. Assistant position to a full-time librarian.
Was she full-time or part-time?
Full,
It will be-
full-time, full-time. It's a
Okay,
full-time,
got it.
full-time, just a-
Okay, thank you.
just a-
I'll second it.
Second, any different discussion? Okay, all those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, seeing no opposition, that motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, director's report.
All right, in the interest of time, I know. other things. But I'm gonna try to keep this very short. It's been a good month, lots of great programs. You can see, I hope you're seeing the building of the programs. We've got a lot more people in the library. We continue on. I'm not gonna read through the programs here. That's all available to you. Gonna come up here and just say, you know, I've been talking about door count lagging behind circulation. Circulation is close to pre-pandemic levels. This is our door count. We're dropped down in 2021, and we are inching back closer for what we would expect our traditional door count to be. So we're above 16,000 a month, and we're inching back towards that sort of 25, 26,000. So this is the final statistic that I'm looking to come back to normal. It's been nice to see over the past couple of months, really since November, this return to normalcy, as I will say, is sort of the pre-pandemic normal. So it's been nice to see. So it popped down to Library Advocacy Day. Good. Everybody likes libraries. Whether that translates into money, we'll find out shortly. But everybody's supportive of libraries.
And you said at Advocacy Day, there were fewer people.
There was a snowstorm that day, so lots of people didn't come from all over the state. I would say next year, if the weather is normal, I would expect next year to look like what we expect a traditional Advocacy Day to look like. You know, the buses coming up from Suffolk County and more people. There were a lot of those buses that just didn't come. The people from around the state just didn't come this year. So it was a smaller event. They did a lot of stuff virtually, but I think it's better to be in person if you can. So
And earlier you can do it.
that's just it, right? So you know, we'll look here, just programs up 215%, this attendance up 600%. Like this is just all of these statistics we're seeing. You know, public use of meeting rooms up 167% over last year, the attendance in those meetings up 115%. These are the kind of numbers that just show people returning to the physical library building, and that's just nice to see for us. So still some increases in circulation, but obviously smaller. We have about 2% overall gain in circulation. So still increasing, but increasing at a slower rate. Now that we're back to what this sort of more normal pre-pandemic level would be. Gas and electric boring. I'm not going to get into that. It exists if you want to see that, and that's really it for me, unless you've got questions about it.
I know somewhere in the report you mentioned DVDs and reducing that collection. And I know I'm representative of just, you know, a small amount of library patronage, but I would say the DVDs that are historically or culturally significant, we still need on library shelves. And just because they can be used for educational purposes. I know in our family we've done that. And newer films now, I'm noticing newer films that aren't available on streaming. They're only available in this one tiny platform that only 10 people have. So we still can use the library to access that information.
Absolutely. So from our perspective, DVDs are not going away. We have them because it may well be the last physical medium for all of those reasons that you're talking, the last physical medium for movies.
Yeah.
And we're largely cut out of streaming on anything popular. Then Disney Plus is not dealing with the library for us to offer Disney Plus out to everybody. You know, you like Canopy, it's well and good, but it doesn't replace all of the popular streaming services. It's more that the public is telling. So if you look at this increasing circulation here, right? So we've got a bounce in circulation overall 2%. The video circulation for adults dropped by 10%, not because we're buying differently than we have been. They're just going out a lot less. And children's video, like,
yeah,
it's just off a cliff. Like, so it's we'll continue to have it. We as a library, we really don't give up formats easily. We kind of hold on tight to them for a long time. For all of the good reasons of DVDs, we'll make sure we still have those popular movies, historical movies, the ones that aren't available in other formats, we'll have. Seasonal, right? All that stuff. You know, we'll be keeping those. We'll be keeping those in the collection. It's just the demand in a highly connected community like we have here. The demand for video continues to grow. So it's just, that's just a reality. So we'll be aware of that. So if we're asking for less money for that, it's based just on demand, but it's not that we're gonna.
So it's not like you'll have fewer of them, but you'll continue. Fewer new additions.
Yeah, because we know there's a lot of them that just aren't, there's movies that we have that aren't available in another format. Now, eventually the thing may crack and we may not be able to buy another one, but it's.
Yeah.
It's a good question. That's where we are. But we're not by no means abandoning DVDs. I know they're very important to a lot of people. Though an increasing number of our patrons are not engaging with us for video.
Okay.
So
Yeah. There's just a few of us that still do.
there's a lot of people that still do. I mean,
Yeah.
we're still circulating, 6,000 of them a month. That's significant. It's a lot, but there was a
Yeah.
time when that was a third or a full third of circulation was DVDs, and that's just not, it's not the case. It's just not there. So.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Jeff? Okay, thank you. UHLS, I think we should send in a,
Yeah, just,
Short.
what was that?
can't be here tonight.
Yeah.
so.
It's just really quickly, they have a date. Upper Hudson has a date for the UHLF annual meeting. They're scheduled to be in person on Wednesday, June 14th. You're all invited. Where that is, I have no idea. They're working to find an in-person location. So their intention is to have a additional in-person Upper Hudson annual board meeting dinner. So
Having never been to one of those, what does it look like? I mean, I think I did a virtual one, there was a speaker, but I mean, what's the?
yeah, traditionally, it's a place for us to get, you're there with many of the other trustees from the other libraries, some staff from the other libraries, get together at a place, have dinner. There's typically a speaker. The awards are handed out there. Tim Burke talks about Hudson and what they've done. You get a copy of the annual report, sort of everybody's circulation report. There's an Upper Hudson annual report.
It's a corporate dinner in a banquet room.
Thank you. That's what it is. Yes, that's far more succinct. Succinct.
Okay, new business, the annual report.
Yeah.
Page 26 through 65. So this is the report we have to send to the state.
Yes, yeah, so this covers July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. So it's 6 months ago and more now. That's the year that this covers. That's just the way the state asked us to. Do it. So you need to approve this. Sorry, the state asks you to approve it. In order to be submitted, it has to be approved by the trustees. So I've done the statistical parts with the help of everybody in this room, personnel reports from Tracy, financial reports from Tanya and Sherry. So there's a lot of streams that end up with this. So.
I just had a couple of questions, just because I read it and then, and I want to ask, a number of things are increased incredibly, which I just wanted to give an affirmation to. I think it was like our early child literacy programs and public internet use, I think is up 10 times.
Yeah.
Something like I saw that.
Right, and you're comparing like the pandemic
understand,
year
understand,
to like
yeah.
coming out of it a little bit
Yeah,
pandemic
yeah.
year. Expect next year to be.
Yeah, I just
That's
saw those huge, but I just had a couple of things I wanted to actually questions about,
Okay.
not that would hold up the approval, I just wanted to make sure I understood. It looks like it said resident borrower library card holders was down like over 1,000 people.
Yeah, so we purge, every once in a while, there's a purge of the database of people who are what they would call expired borrowers.
Okay,
We do that purge and so the number creeps up and then we purge them down.
Okay. because I was thinking, why would that over 1,000 library cards be lost in the district?
Because they have to, at
Got it.
sooner or later, they have to. People don't use their cards heavy.
Okay. And then on, that's on page 33, on page 34, it talked about assistive technology. And it's, I think we don't have a braille reader, is that correct?
We do not have a braille reader. We do have an Optelec reader, which blows things up
Okay.
large, but like a braille keyboard,
Yeah,
we don't have.
okay,
And then there's an assistive sound system in the community room. Which I wish we had gone with the other technology, the T loop, the T coil loop would have been better, but it's not infrared. It's infrared system.
it'd be interesting to, I don't know how many people who would use a braille reader in the community, it'd be interesting to find out from the school district, if they have them, or like, on the number of students who might use them. But just, that's just something I noticed. It's like, I'm not sure if there's a demand for it, but and I'm not sure how much they cost. So,
I'm actually, so I'll reach out and we'll try to find out that information. So even with our Optilec reader used to get used infrequently, but occasionally. The cost of the technology to do that has dropped a lot to the point where a lot of people just have it
Okay.
in their house. So the need for the library to have it is less, but that's no reason for us not to have it. So
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
look into it.
yeah, and I'm wondering, so does a Braille, what is a Braille reader? So that's why I,
So it would read like a document, and it's a refreshable screen and just pop up a strip of Braille and it would just read down a document or
so when you say read, you the person hears a voice or?
it would be in Braille.
Oh, it would be in Braille, okay, okay.
And then the other one would be like a screen reader, and we also don't have like a program called like JAWS that would read a screen, like a website, would read it out loud.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't
Yeah,
sure, okay.
yeah, so those two kind of head in two different directions.
I know the district has something.
Yes,
That scans, so like a homework assignment would come in with print needle, translates back and forth, but I don't know if we need that, but I would just be interested in a bit more on understanding is there demand and cost but there may not be one, so that was just the only thing I noted. Thank you.
Any other questions on the annual report?
Make a motion to accept the annual report and send it to the state. I second.
Okay, great, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Schematic design proposal, 66 and 69. All ready for a drawing when we got a document.
I know, sorry, that's what, I should have explained that a little bit better. Sorry about the disappointment.
That's okay.
What you got is an invoice.
Right, exactly.
So, what Ashley McGraw is proposing is, a fee for the next phase of the design work, which would take us from this very sort of theoretical, design work into schematic design, which is sort of the second of three phases of design. So you've got feasibility, schematic design, design development. These are the three phases of design. So this is the next fee. Their proposal is that the fixed fee for this would be $283,638. And then there's always some reimbursables. There's like they mentioned, you have the topo study, which isn't a fee to them, but they would get some of that for us. And then a hazmat testing survey site, you have to have before you do any work. It's another $8,000. The site they had one quote for the topographic about on the property. So proposal that's in front of you.
So does it include the additional services or those?
No.
Those are built in.
Right, so reimbursable expenses, so they're laying those out right for here, the hazmat testing and assessment, especially printing, that's not part of that fee. When they travel here and lodge, meals, all that stuff, that's separate, any governmental fees, whatever those would be, and then legal services project are not included in that. Not included in that, there is a loose timeline here.
Yeah.
That basically says, we'll take schematic design through the end of July, design development would go through the end of October, and then the construction documents would be ready to roll mid-March. Yeah.
It'd be
So-
interesting to try to move that bond up to November.
Well, I mean,
I know it's all draft, but yeah.
yeah,
Be interesting, because I think once you get into that period between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I mean, I guess my assumption was if we're gonna run our own, we had a talk with the district, I don't know if we would be. Yeah, if
We
we're
have to
ready,
keep flush that out more.
Yeah.
yeah, if it's, bond vote December 2023 seems fast to me, I mean, whether we wanna run our own election, we've never done it. So most of you run on the school district election, which happens would be May of 20. So, I mean, there's no way this is happening this May, obviously, so it's, if we were gonna go on the regular cycle of elections, it would go May of 24. We wanted to run our own election, and maybe that's ready to go mid-March.
Just avoid the winter, because people will
Oh, yeah,
feel
that's.
like they can't get out, so that's why, like, late fall is kind of the general.
it's-
If it could move that fast, it may not, but, yeah, can't do the December to February thing, and then by March, you're already so close to May. you just-
Might as well try for May. Got it.
I did have a question. I'm not sure this is the right place for it. So you can just let me know. Does this estimate include having a project manager on site throughout the building?
So this is, no, so this is literally design work only. There's no construction, nothing to do with this. When we go to bid something, we'll need to have a construction man. We'll talk about construction management. We'll have to talk about commissioning at the end to make sure everything got installed properly. Like those are all, that's money that gets spent during the construction.
Gotcha.
We're just talking about design.
So it's all built into the bond, right? So that's what the bond will pay for.
So this is just the next piece of design work. What they're telling you down here on this page is what their fee table is. So eventually, if the from this point, from design to 7.7% of the construction cost is what they will charge for design development through contract administration. So when you're ready to have a project, and whatever that project costs, after this phase, after this $280,000, 7.75% of the project of the total project cost is what their fee is going to be for design development. And
Was that fee included in their $23 million estimate?
think so.
But you also have to get an estimator in here.
Oh, there's a lot. I mean,
There's so many steps.
Yes, construction is like a whole separate.
Right.
It's a whole separate beast. So,
You make a noise. What did you?
I did, because I think it's a good question. Was that included in 23?
Right.
Do we have to factor this in differently? Is it an add-on to whatever we want?
right, well, I mean, it depends. I mean, the thing is, let's say you did 1 million. 7.75% million, right?
Yeah.
1.4. That's what the fund balance is for this design part. All of this is your seed money's in your fund balance. That's why you.
And I'm not disagreeing, I get it, it's just, it's one of those moments where you realize all of the add-ons.
Yep.
To the basic.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like we want a more definitive answer, I guess, on it, or I want to know if that's standard. I assume it is, but I want to know if it's standard. And what happens if we don't approve this? Let me ask, it's like tonight, I'm just curious.
Yeah, if we don't approve this tonight, then I'm assuming that schedule just gets moved back by whatever appropriate amount of time.
So we don't technically have to approve it tonight if there's an outstanding question or questions, right?
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
we're just
yeah,
approving the next stage of, like,
right,
we're not approving the
The
thing we
fee
have
table.
the question
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
we're just approving.
Right, so
Right.
when you're looking at what the total design cost of a project would be. They're telling you schematic design phase is 20%, $283,000 of from this point forward, right? Then 30% we divide design development, construction documents phase, 5% for procurement, and then 20% for administration. So this is a fifth of what you would be spending total for engineering, architecture fees through the end of.
So if we take a vote, are we approving the amount or are we approving the whole thing?
All you're approving, the only thing you can vote on now
Is the amount,
is the amount of
the schematics.
$283,638,
Okay.
plus the reimbursables and all that stuff that they mentioned, travel and all of that stuff. That's what you're approving, that we move forward into the next.
Okay.
The next phase.
Just to be clear on what the next phase is, with this, what we mean for the schematic
Yes,
phase. That, hey, we have all of our ideas, we have our concepts, now we're moving into a more defined concept And basically, we're coming up with drawings that would essentially, we would send out to contractors that would then come up with construction drawings.
That would be, that's design development / contract documents. This is the phase right before that. So so there's two phases here. So schematic design, design development, contract documents, that's all getting us ready to go. But this is where we move from this feasibility study, which is very, big pieces of building, which way would you want this moved? What does this look like? That sort of thing, to how much space do we need for circulation? How much space do we need for nonfiction? How much space do we need for study carols? Like that kind of stuff. We get down to those brass tacks.
What's the plan? So what's the plan?
What's the plan?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're dealing with that first 20% basically.
This is the first
Okay,
20%.
yeah.
So they're saying feasibility is a whole
Yeah,
separate,
yeah, yeah.
that's not it.
Right, we did that, we're done with that.
The number we're looking at tonight is this 20%.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, that's. The delay just is more costly. If we're gonna do this, let's do it. We're not gonna, it's not gonna be cheaper in 2 months or 3 months. It's gonna be more expensive.
But I also feel more comfortable now you clarified that we so spend that amount instead of that 20% as opposed to this entire.
Yeah, you're not signing up for the whole thing. There will be contracts for each phase of this, and believe me, this contract is gonna get sent to our contracts attorney. Even if you approve it tonight, it's gonna get sent to Madeline to look those over and make sure that's good, before we sign it. But this is, basically, do we wanna move to this next more serious phase of design? Are we ready to do that? This is the price. It's a lot of zeros involved in that. It's a serious amount of money, but that's what we're signing up for when we get into, to get a big, so.
Make a motion to accept the schematic design.
A second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, somebody raise your hand. No opposition, motion passes. Thank you.
I will say, I assume that they're gonna come back and we still have input.
Oh, there's a lot of meetings. Like your work is just like,
Yeah,
your work is just getting started.
I
Yeah,
understand.
so like all the meetings, the stakeholder meetings, the meetings with staff, meeting with the board, meeting with the public, all of that stuff happens then.
Yeah, good.
So up until now, we're just dealing with a very conceptual.
Got it.
So there's two policies here for first reading. I don't know, Randy, you wanna go real quick, or you wanna have just people read them? These are the first reading we would, and then come back next month for second reading and adoption, so.
And there's marked copies of each of these with the track changes. This one I think was very much similar to
Yeah.
I think we just flushed out we changed the 1, 2, 3, just took text and made those bullets basically, but.
Just thanks again to the policy committee. I know this is a lot of work.
So there is.
Yeah.
You've seen it, any questions about that? It's mostly law, so it's not a lot of,
Right.
this is dealt right with in New York statute, so that's. This is the exam proctoring policy. This is a lot more us, a lot less law, so.
Now, this is new, right, proctoring?
No, this is a rewrite of an existing policy.
Okay.
And again, there is a marked copy and most of it was language consistency, like editing for language consistency and just a rearranging a bit. Organization and language text consistency, but there was nothing new, I don't think. Concept wise.
We didn't change the fees for out of system, out of area people, it's about the same. Not about the same, it's
Yeah.
exactly the same.
Readability.
Yeah.
Readability and consistency.
This policy has an audience of people who want to have an exam prior here, that's the audience for this.
You probably could charge more, but. Probably district people, but.
Yeah, I know.
That's the policy call, if you want to raise the price or not.
Right, and then there's, for people who want exams proctored for universities or colleges, the places that do that tend to be the community colleges. They'll charge them $150. I mean, but it's a much more serious proctoring relationship that they have with their students. That's not the kind of exams that we're proctoring here. We can't, we don't meet the standards to do that. So that would be There's a reason they charge that money. Cost that
Right.
administrative.
Okay, so people should look at those for possible adoption next month. Any other new business? Okay, old business, the budget.
Coming out of here. Hopping over here. Yes, well, everybody's about to have them.
Okay.
Right here.
You're gonna pull it out. Okay. All right, so, this is the proposed budget for FY 23-24. It really hasn't changed very much at all from the budget that we talked about at the last board meeting. The projected levy limit increases by almost 94,000.
Down there.
Yes, up there, 93,893. Which is about, what is it, 2.18%. 2.18% increase over last year,
Still significantly below.
which is still right, significantly below the cap, thank you. The proposed budget doesn't include any new positions or any significant adjustments to supplies and services, but does provide some flexibility should we have any unplanned expenses or if inflation becomes more of a problem. I wanted to make sure we have enough in the budget to cover those types of events should they occur. And we think along with the underlying assumptions, that this is a reasonable plan for the library for the next fiscal year.
So just to reiterate, no significant changes from last year.
Correct.
And no significant changes from what we reviewed.
That's right, that's right. And the largest increase is in salary and benefits.
Their materials budget is the higher end of the capital rate as a percentage, right? It's still at the
Right.
higher end of the capital.
Higher end of capital regional lenders. What did we say? It's about 12%?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. 12% of the budget.
And two, because in the past, we were a little bit below budget, but we expect we're gonna be closer to budget going forward because we're filling up positions.
They're filled, right, and so just a few part-time positions aren't, so, yeah, I mean, that's where for the past 3 years, we've had this. Consistent under budget,
Right.
don't expect to see that from the going forward, because we're gonna have all this.
Have you received any public input on the budget at all?
No.
Okay.
Usually don't.
It's not as,
It's-
from an absolute dollar, amount, it's not, I mean, it's a lot of money, I'm not saying that, but from an absolute dollar amount, when you're comparing it to other. Budgets and that people are comparing to the community, it's a smaller amount.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Just curious.
yeah, no, I would believe me, I would. Welcome people to come in.
At some point, isn't there like a public hearing on the, it's
Yep.
like, is the
It-
next meeting or is the meeting after there or something like that?
That will be the main meeting will be just before the vote,
Okay.
so we'll have that just times out well that we don't have to have a separate meeting, so it'll be right at that meeting, we'll have a public hearing and. It'll be in the footnotes before that, and that's really where most people get that, it goes in the footnotes and then, put those announcements out in the spotlight.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept the draft budget on pages 73 and 74 for
Say the draft budget that's on the, not, because it's slightly different, so it's a draft budget that's on the Board of Trustees page.
yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by raising your hand, saying aye.
One quick question, sorry.
Yeah,
Sure.
The operations budget is up, I think 1.72%. So it's really just a couple of line items that we've adjusted for possible inflation, mostly electricity and gas.
yeah,
That's the big.
Okay, so I guess just wanted to confirm that that's a conscious decision. We're not concerned about any of the other operating expenses being significantly impacted. Or more
That's
so
right.
than they've already been impacted.
Right, that's right.
Thanks.
And we have some savings in the accounting services line because we had a one-time increase last year for an upgrade to the accounting software that we use, and we we won't incur that expense again next year, so. There's some savings there.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, motion carries, budget is,
Thank you.
okay.
So when that goes before, so we just adopted the budget, is that correct?
Yes, with a levy, with an included levy.
Right, so since Lisa is not here, will it be then to the publisher, will it be say, you gonna say it's adopted by like 6 members of the trust? How does it, you record the vote, or do you just say the public adopts it? How do you word that?
No, we quorum, so.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the 6 people here, I'm not sure exactly how we report that. It was,
We usually just say it was adopted by the board.
okay, got it, I think you.
Okay, plaza entry,
I don't have anything to show you about
which
this.
is like,
Yeah, okay.
episode
Of the impending sort of Damocles hanging over our head. So we got an estimate from a contractor about what it would cost to remove the bricks from the plaza. Dig them down to an appropriate level that concrete needs to be, and pour concrete all where the bricks are. All right, that estimate was about $60,000. So over the limit of the what the library, we have to bid that out. That has to be sent to public bid. That has to be, sealed bid. We have to announce that out, have contractors. We can certainly encourage contractors to apply, but it will get published in our paper of record. And then we take the sealed bid, and the lowest responsible bid, or the best value responsible bid. We would come back here to the trustees for approval if you wanted to move forward with replacing those bricks. So that's just what we wanted to do. What I wanted to do was get concept. I have no idea how much this costs. Now I do, about $60,000. Those bids could go up or down a little bit, but that's mostly based on the price for what concrete is plus the labor. We did ask about not replacing all the bricks and just sort of making a strip that would go up the middle, the increased price of cutting the brick to enable straight line in the middle of a diagonally shaped brick pattern. The labor cost of cutting those bricks exceeds the savings that you would have for not doing
everything.
not doing the plaza. So, the question is, $60,000, is this something that's worth doing, given that we're pursuing a capital project? At the same time, look at January this year, where we had temperatures porpoising right around the whole month was spent right at freezing, and we spent a lot of time and angst clearing the ice and trying to keep the ice off of that. So it's definitely a problem. It's definitely a liability. Is it one that we should solve? This is the solution that when I talked to our landscape architect, I said, I'm looking for like a medium-term solution that would fix this issue as best as possible, mitigate the issue, and he said, just replace the bricks with concrete. That's what he said. That's the answer. You want to make it safer, you replace the bricks. So is this something you want me to pursue?
Is it a project that would be doable this season?
I think it would be doable before snow flies in the fall. It's not going to be done. I mean, winter's over, so we're done with winter, right? It would be doable.
By November, maybe.
Certainly by November, with the bid and all, because we don't have to go to SED. It's not something that needs state approval. It's not that level of project. It's just a repair.
So, I mean, before anyone would break ground on a construction project, we have two winter seasons upon us,
Probably at least.
at least.
That's it.
So you make a good point. If it's ready for next season, if we can get at least 3 seasons out of it. Let's say $20,000 a season, that is probably worth. Over time, because if someone falls and sues us, we are clearly aware of the issue.
Yes.
As the public knows. And it is like, I have to say, it's a much bigger issue than I imagined even just a short time ago.
Yeah.
If you mentioned it, once you mention it to people, it's like the floodgates.
Everybody knows. I mean, so here's just my personal experience. When I saw some folks leaving because we had an ice storm, and then people with mobility issues who knew they had to cut to the left and walk above that little 18-inch strip all the way out to the end and cut across the grass rather than walking across the brick. When Kevin and Mike were actively salting. So they're actively pouring the salt on out there, but our public is trained to know that broke my heart a little bit to say that the public just knows this is as much of a deal. They just for their safety, they go up the side of it.
It's also a great deal of angst for us. You and the staff.
And we do have a contingency budget of 35,000 that we could put towards it, so you could almost consider the project cost actually 25,000.
Well, and $100,000 in the capital improvements.
Yes.
So that's, I mean, that's there for that.
Is there any UHLS money available for this?
I could find out. I don't think this kind of repair, maybe access. I might be able to shoot a Hornet under access, possibly. But we can't, if we're gonna try to time it with a grant, I can't start construction until after July. That's,
I don't know how long does it take to take all the bricks out?
but I could ask that. I'll find that out. If this is something we want to pursue, flesh all that out, get a process put together, work with our landscape architect that we have a relationship now and get. I don't know what specifications we need for concrete. That's not
Yeah.
something I know. I would get some help with that and then.
And so it's not about the grading, it's just basically replacing one material with another.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, there's a lot of issues with the plaza and the slope of it's just brick out the front side of the building, brick gone, concrete in.
And I would assume they do it so that people can still access the building, so like it's half and half, however they do it, yeah, if you do it. Yeah. I did mention, Jeff, I said aesthetically, I'm not sure if people are gonna like it, but hopefully, you know, it's gonna.
Well, is there anything you can do aesthetically with concrete?
You
Yeah,
can stamp it. I
Just
just,
dump it.
so if we're gonna do this, again, it's a temporary.
You don't spend a lot of money
My request would be that it's all about what's the safest, least likely to ice surface.
on
I
that,
don't know if it's little grooves or whatever aesthetically, I don't, just
Yeah.
make it as safe as possible, something that we can clear off.
I think you can do both. You can do, I agree that's priority, but you might be able to do something.
Make it.
Aesthetic, some,
Yes.
you know,
It lends itself to, some community events too, like chalk things. I mean,
right, or painting.
Painting
Kids
it,
go-
things with soluble paint, things like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just aesthetically, I just said, people are gonna notice it, it's not gonna be in a positive way.
No,
That's just
no,
a bit of fear.
I think they're gonna be happy though, that it's like,
Yeah,
okay, you guys
Yeah.
finally dealt with it. Like, we've been dealing with this for years.
If it was snow, like snow we can deal with.
Yeah.
Snow still
It's nice.
leaves traction on the bricks. It's these winters that we're having that are just right at freezing and a little bit above freezing. Just the past 2 winters have just been.
We've been talking about this for 10 years.
Yeah.
you can't get sued for negligence that's related to that aesthetics. I mean, someone could try, but it's only.
No, exactly. Go for it. Do you need a motion?
No, because what you'll be voting on is to approve, when there's a bid, you're gonna approve that bid. What I'm looking for here is, yes, this is the direction we're going. Jeff, go figure this out. We'll get some documents put together and we'll get some bids put together.
Make a motion.
Yes, absolutely, wholeheartedly.
Okay, cool.
For Jeff to move forward with seeking a bid to replace the plaza bricks with concrete.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Motion carries. Donation / name units.
policy committee, so
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is, for half of each policy committee, we're working on policies, the other half, we're tossing around ideas about the naming rights things. And so there was a little bit of discussion about, where are we with that? And there's been no direction of the board in saying we're going ahead with it, but I thought we were saying for the policy committee to start laying out something for you to look at. So
It's
that
not
we're-
even a policy, just a, I mean,
Like a
even,
decision-making document or something.
yeah, or even just an outline of it. I think the point is to just have something react to, like I said in my email, to kind of just give us something more concrete to help us
Think
formulate
it's
our own
okay.
ideas better.
Yeah.
So the last meeting, we had that half discussion and we wanted direction from the board as to So we were talking about some ideas, and it boils down to, should there be a centralized location? So using the current space, let's just say, for example, like on this wall. Could everything be centralized there? Jeff came up with, we talked on this idea that we could have a book like bronze, I don't know, something bookcase, and donors donated, have a book. That's like bronzed or something with their name, so that, we were just talking on these, got excited about like, wow, it's really cool ideas. So basically, but it boils down to centralized location. Plaque, bookcase, whatever it looks like aesthetically, or does the board want it to look at collections, plaques, rooms, things all around the library? So we wanted that direction.
Yeah, like an if question. If the board were to decide to move in this direction. The first one is, would you want to see named rooms all over the library, or would you rather see something centralized? Like, I mean, you've seen these before, the tree with all the leaves on it, or whatever, some kind of.
Something nicely done, but it was, we started, we were all, I don't know, I was excited about the books, like a bronze book that said like, I don't know, the Smith family or whatever. And then people could still come and say, there, you know, it meant so much for our family. There's the lasting legacy acknowledgement kind of thing.
Why is
Versus like different prices and things for rooms.
Why is it an either or thing, though? I mean, I would think that each one arrives at different price points. I love the bronze book idea, but I would think that is a more common donation that people could make. And a giant room named after your family indicates a much more significant donation. So, I mean, can a policy have both aspects to it?
We're looking for the board to, to talk, time in, like, what do you want to see?
I really think we need to make the decision first, whether or not we're gonna do naming rights. And from there, then consider, and again, even if it were a centralized location, don't we have the building done first? Before we would choose that or where it would be, and I wouldn't think we would have a committee work on the minutia before we even know if we're gonna do this. And Lisa's not here tonight, and I know she is one of the ones who had some reservations about it, so I don't know, I have a hard time talking about how we will create a policy when we haven't even decided if we're gonna do that policy.
Like,
And there is a current policy. Right?
There is, it gives
It gives policy, so it's a question, of be an update of that. And I think you're right, I think we need a decision matrix, okay. Are we gonna do a naming opportunity, or naming opportunities, whatever that looks like? Yes, no, yes, you go down this trail, and then the specifics of that, we get kind of worked out, we can put something in front of everyone to react to. I agree, we shouldn't like talking concept, let's talk on a straw dog, like, here it is, like, look at it, what do you think? And then if we're not, then the current gift policy is what it is. I mean, in some ways, you're right, you gotta have the.
And I would go one step further, if the answer is yes, we're gonna pursue this, okay, we will, but then we're gonna wait until we have a new
Right,
building.
so, or, people, prior to the new building, here's the policy, post, in the build up to the new building, here's the, here's the addendum to that.
Right, it's not a bad time for us to be talking about this, though,
Right.
because if you're getting to schematic design,
That means
you might want to incorporate, if you wanted to incorporate something, you want to,
a place.
you have to tell them.
Yeah,
Sure, to Michelle's point is, if, let's say the board says it does, and I'm not screwing it,
Yeah.
then they can say, okay, then the policy committee might come back and say, okay, we've seen other libraries' policies, there are dollar values per room. Do you want the policy committee to start developing that and drafting that or not, or so?
I mean, and I wanna make clear, like, I'm not on one side of this or the other. I wouldn't spend time getting into the minutia of anything, I would just take a policy, like cut and paste a few sections from like
Right.
maybe 3 of our
Exactly.
policies, and then throw it out, and then we can at least look at
put it in
something.
draft and throw it out for discussion.
Yeah, and then you can say, and then, I mean, I think then you can have one of two reactions, I hate this idea. Let's not even do this, or you can say, okay, I like parts of that, I don't like parts of that. Let's have a discussion, like, and then, to your point, then I think. If most people land on well, I like parts of it, then I think we move toward a policy. And then we get into the minutia.
Yeah, I get that, I mean.
I guess I'm kind of, it's just as chair and What do you want to see drafted? Give me an example.
How about, I mean, put this, I'll take this one on. I mean, when
Yeah,
you say
yeah.
straw dog, that's exactly the right word.
Right.
Nothing that is. I mean, just a draft that, I don't want us to like throw out the Saratoga policy is an example, but something close to that. You know, I don't know, Saratoga.
Go to one that
Google
takes
search will bring up a few.
Yeah,
because I've
yeah.
done it, yeah.
But just throw out something and print it out and say, okay, guys, what's your initial reaction to that? But I can, because I don't want, like I said, I understand the work that the policy committee is doing, but
Oh, I don't mind doing that. I just want to make sure we know what we're doing so that we're not, and we do have some budget, we have several, I think.
Yeah.
Jen gave us several, so
Right.
do we work off of, so how would it be most useful time with the board?
I think we, at the policy committee, we talk about it and come up with like, okay, this is what we want people to react to, send it to people, and then we talk about it.
yeah, and you made a great point, centralized location versus the big
Right.
stuff, or both. Because we might love one and you know, someone might love one and hate the other. But. I think
Yeah,
we just-
I think you're right, we need to get to like, here's something to feel good. And it could be like, okay, we're not doing it, we're not doing it at all.
Yeah.
Fine, that's a decision.
So Michelle, I'm going back to you. What are your thoughts from the discussion?
Well, I guess that my opinion hasn't really changed, that it is, you are doing work on something we haven't decided we're going to do. But I get the sense now that maybe the majority of people might be leaning towards doing naming rights. So in that case, then the work isn't wasted. I wouldn't want you to do work that's wasted.
I don't think you're gonna know
Yeah.
whether, I don't think you know the answer until you put something.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the policy committee should look at the materials that we've been given from Jen, who did a lot of work together with those.
Yeah.
And then just say what parts of this might we live,
Yeah, we'll cobble something together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
to put before the board, how's that? So there's no policy, it's just like what aspects of this
Yeah.
we put before the board.
And I would just say, I get the whole like wasting work thing, but I think sometimes you have to. I think it's not wasted work if it solidifies the fact that we don't like it.
Yeah.
If we look at all these things and we're like, yeah, we're not doing that, I think that's. It's work to get to the negative.
Yeah.
All right, cool, negotiations update.
Okay. Really nothing to negotiate. We have a tentative date.
They haven't sent over anything at all,
No.
like other than the date.
Correct. And the time on the date, I do not know.
But we've agreed to a virtual meeting that date.
Okay. Volunteer policy, second reading.
Second reading.
You got any comments on this?
So this is a brand new policy, correct? I'm trying to remember. I can't
This is
remember.
a brand new policy. It was, this is the update, the final update version from the last meeting where we got the right one was distributed out for everybody. So.
Are most of our volunteers, school students, are they students?
From numbers, yes. From hours, still, no, I don't know, maybe a little bit less.
It's probably almost half and half at this point, but up until this year, it's always been high school and middle school students.
Heavily.
So this is the first time we're really looking at adult volunteers.
So we do have some adult.
Oh, we definitely do, absolutely, yeah, and always, and have for years, so,
Okay.
yep, we had, some of the digital, I go back, I always,
Yeah, we've
Put
had
the same
some
one.
little stuff, but we're really trying to increase
right,
more opportunities for adults.
so one thing you
Yeah,
heard.
it's on the website too, I see it's on the screen.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I mean, one of the things that Chris and I noticed when we talk to the public is that an opportunity to volunteer at the library is a sought after service that adult people in the community want. So it's like that.
Yeah.
It's not about getting work out of people, it's about making an opportunity. And people get frustrated when, you know, we have just a few options and those buckets aren't the buckets they want to participate in. Garden volunteers forever, we've had digitization project volunteers, but they're, you know, now we have a volunteer coordinator, her job is to find opportunities that aren't impacting paid work that can expand the services of the library in ways that provide people with a meaningful experience. That's
You know, the other thing I noticed up here is if we cap the word library in this policy and not other ones, we should just be consistent.
Yeah.
Across policies, because I know we were trying to work within policies, but whatever grammatical form is used across all policies, just check it.
Jen's taking a note. I can see her back there.
As soon as I saw all those capitals, I'm like. Thank you.
You got it right.
Hmm?
I think you got it right. I think it's good. Make your motion I'll make a motion. I can make a motion, okay.
Make a motion to accept the library policy as stated on pages. Library volunteer policy as stated on pages 75 and 76 of the packet and currently on the screen.
Second, great. All in discussion, all those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Okay, seeing no opposition, that motion is carried. Any other old business? Any future business? Any public participation?
A future business might be, I'm not sure we're ready though yet, Jeff, that patron conduct policy. So the policy committee had that on the docket. And we realized that we want to spend half our time with the gifts thing. So we kicked the patron conduct policy down the road, and we have a meeting at the end of this month. But I'm not sure. So Jeff and I had a discussion because there were a lot of, I call it nickel and dime policies, like where you park your bike. And I said, I wonder, right before the agenda meeting, we had some time. I said, I wonder if we'd like to just lift all that's like the nickel and dimes and just put something like patrons must comply with all posted. So that might take a little bit more time, but that will be coming, and we want to put together a substantially altered version and maybe a not so. So just one that may read more like a policy, and then one that might just nip and tuck grammatically fix the current one, but we might be moving towards, unless the board says don't do it. Policy that says all those like don't skateboard in the lobby should not necessarily be part of the policy, but you just post it and just say that patrons are expected to comply with all posted signs and regulations, and therefore we don't have to say like in a policy, park your bike in the right place. Where we really want to emphasize more of the care of the collection, the care of staff, and the care of the patrons.
It's a lot of notes. Every one of those is written in. It's not written in one, but you know what I mean. Every one of those things is even before our time, my time, everything. Every one of those has happened. But I think it's a good question.
Yes,
Do
so
we
all
need
those
to
things are in there, but then it's also like park your bike here and park your car here, and I'm like, no, that, we don't need that.
And we're under the auspices of the emergency patron conduct policy, the pandemic one, and we're coming to the official state ending of the emergency in May. So it's probably for that. So we'll try to have that back to you before that time.
Yeah, so if we have it in time, it'll be business, new business, we might not.
That's
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
nothing.
Okay, gonna go to.
Yes, I mean, I'll look for a motion by somebody, seconded by somebody, for the board to adjourn, or the board to adjourn for executive session to discuss contract negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
A second.
Okay, any question, all in favor, signify by saying aye, raise your hand, and you can carry.
Okay, and second to live stream.